Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Zillennial Support Group podcast. This is Silvana and Marriya. We're back at it again. Yo, yo, yiggity, yo. All right, let's get to it. How have you been, Marriya?
I've been alive, which is
You've been alive?
more.
Your lips look a little dead, if I
Thank
do say
you.
so myself.
Yeah, I
So I
have
don't know if that
black
statement's
lipstick.
true. Yeah, for all the listeners at home,
Yeah.
Marriya is rocking a black top, dark hair slicked back, and jet black lipstick.
You
It's a
sound like
total vibe.
that teen reporter from Princess Diaries.
The teen
Do you
reporter? Oh my
remember,
god.
like
What are
in
you
Princess
talking about?
Diaries, when Mia Thermopolis comes in all wet, and they're like, "I'm a reporter for Teen Beat magazine," and it's like she's
Oh.
wearing a wet look with jeans.
Oh my god, I do remember that. Oh, so it's like a reporter for a teen
Yeah.
magazine. It wasn't a teenager
I don't know. They
reporter.
didn't explain that.
Okay, cool. Cool. But yeah, I have a white background and a white shirt as sort of whoop, knocked something over, as sort of a foil for your outfit today.
Hmm.
So a lot of what's it called? A lot of metaphorical choices made today. I don't know. What's that word that symbolic. A lot of symbolic fashion choices today. Not metaphorical. But today we have for you a very special episode. We're basically discussing we're having Halloween in April, basically, even though this episode's coming out in May. We were
We don't
discussing
know
all
how long we'll
things.
do this.
We're discussing all things spooky, and so today we are looking at the old 2003 movie, The Haunted Mansion. Is that right, Marriya?
Yes. What if I was like, no, we're doing the extremely goofy movie?
Oh my god, we should do that. Oh wow, TBT. I totally forgot about the Goofy movie.
So when did you first see The Haunted Mansion, Silvana?
Ooh, I'm pretty sure I saw the movie in theaters with my family.
Wow.
It was like a big family event, and we had a good time. I have really fond memories of the movie, and I would see like reruns on Disney Channel all the time. It was a good movie, and they promoted it a lot too. There was a lot of promotion on Disney Channel. I was very aware that the movie was coming out, and it was, I think it was marketed as like a family movie too, of like family of four in a car going on vacation, face death and ghosts. What about you? Do you remember seeing the movie?
No, I don't think.
Have you ever seen the movie?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. No, I think I saw it like, I don't know. I had to be at least like 12 or something. Probably on like
12,
Disney Channel.
really?
Yeah, because I went on the Haunted Mansion ride like way too
Oh,
young in Disney World, and it freaked me the fuck out
wow.
because
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been on the
it's
ride. Are you
horrible.
talking about the one in Florida?
Yeah, it's horrible. It's the worst because like it's really I don't know, it was scary for me as like a 7-year old, 5 year, I don't know how old I
Oh.
was, but but they keep on saying like don't come in, like beware. And I was like, why the fuck are we going in? And then they're like, get out. And but you're on like a little like car with like a thing.
Oh.
And so but at this
I think
point,
I do remember that ride. I think I
yeah,
did go on it
it
once.
was
Wow.
horrible. And but the only thing that I knew how to do is I didn't know how to read, and I kept seeing exit signs. So I was like, let's just
Aw.
fucking go. Let me just
Yeah,
get
I mean that's the best instinct to have in a scary movie is like, oh, first sign of something bad, you just leave. End of
exactly.
movie. No more issues.
Exactly. Because like and so I was screaming so much that my sister didn't know like what screams were from the ride and which was like me. Um
Aw.
but yeah, I as in preparation, I like rewatched a going through the ride like walk kind of thing so I could remember exactly
Yeah.
what the ride is like, and I was
Oh.
scared. It was awful. Um
Wow. Yeah, I think I saw the movie pretty early on and then didn't go on the ride until much later as a kid, so I wasn't that scared anymore.
I feel like I still could never go on the ride. It's just so
Yeah, you
scary.
must have been pretty young.
Yeah, because like so you go into like the main room, and like the portrait
Ooh.
changes into like a skeleton, and then
Oh yeah.
it's like this thing where it's like, is the room stretching or something, and you're actually kind of like going underground, so it actually is, that's why it looks like it's
Oh.
stretching. Then they're like, no turning back now, and that freaked me out. And then you just see like a suicide. You see a
Oh
man
my god.
hanging.
Dude, okay, so that's that was one of my first notes that I made, that one of the in like the opening credits of the movie, you see a man hanging, and I'm like, that's actually pretty traumatizing for
Yeah.
a child to see, just like a guy knowing that he committed suicide just like hanging from the ceiling. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think I would want my children to see that,
Well,
but I definitely saw that at a very young age.
it's also like weird in like the context of going to an amusement park, that you like
Mm.
see a man hanging, and then they're like, let's go meet Ariel. It's just like a weird day. Um,
Wow, a whirlwind of
um,
emotion.
and then you just get on the ride. But also, I remembered that in The Incredibles, it starts out with a man trying to jump off of a building and kill himself. It just
Yeah.
makes me wonder, like, who are these for? Who are these for?
I do think The Incredibles were like a little bit more delicate talking about the situation.
Mm-hmm.
But in the Haunted Mansion, it's definitely just like, yeah, he killed himself.
Yeah.
Let's continue with the plot of the movie.
Um,
But
but then,
and I was
like,
like, whoa, let's slow down.
yeah. But then, like, on the ride, there is this idea. Well, it's not really confirmed, so the ride doesn't actually have like a direct storyline. But for the
Mm,
first kind of part, you can't really see the ghosts, you just see things moving. And
mm.
then at one point, you start seeing the ghosts and they start interacting with you. And so the theory is that at one point in the ride, you die.
Oh my god. Oh my
And that
god.
freaked me the
That's
fuck out.
crazy.
And like, then you
Yeah.
like look at yourself in the mirror and you're like ghostly, and there are like hitchhiking ghosts on top of you. And it
Yeah.
just freaked me out.
Oh my god. I bet. Damn, yeah. Okay, so what came first? The ride or the
The
movie? The
ride.
ride?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
One of
there's,
the,
I
like the
think, one
Pirates of the
scene in the
Caribbean.
credits where it's like based off of Walt Disney's Haunted Mansion.
Hmm.
I'm like, so it's like the Haunted Mansion ride.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like Pirates of
Um,
the Caribbean and Tower of Terror. I
oh
think Country
yeah.
Bears was also one.
I loved the movie Tower of Terror too.
Yeah.
I
I
that was
haven't seen
also
that
another
one.
thing where I didn't know it was like a ride first, and then
Hmm.
they made a movie based off of it.
Yeah. I don't.
Loved that movie.
I don't think that the ride. I don't know. I don't know if the ride itself is haunted, but there is a thing where like people try to go into the park and like spread their loved ones' ashes into like the haunted mansion cemetery.
Whoa, why?
I don't know.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Oh my god. That's a terrible idea. Please no one ever do that to me. That'd be terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like there are a lot of stories of like certain rides being haunted.
Hmm.
I don't know about like specifically Disney World, but a lot of amusement parks have been around for like a long time. And so like the ride structures have been like they're like 50 years old sometimes. And so especially when they were less safe, like people died and stuff like that.
Hmm.
People still die. Amusement parks are very dangerous.
Yeah. I think
Be
Pirates of
careful,
the
kids.
Caribbean is supposed to be haunted. And I don't know
Yeah.
if I'm completely making this up, but I think originally they used real bone or something
Oh my
for some of the
god.
skeletons, but
Is
I
that
could just be
legal?
making that up.
It could be like an urban legend.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I have since like I'm not super afraid of roller coasters. I don't go on ones that are like, very like 90-degree steep. But I used to be very afraid of them when I was a kid, solely because my mother was very afraid of them. And as a kid, if you see your parents are afraid of something, like it's probably very scary.
Hmm.
And then my mom would make fun of me for being too scared to go
No.
on these rides. She's like, "You're not having any fun. Like you need to go." And I'm like, "I'm scared. Like you go too." And she's like, "No, I'm scared." And I'm like, it's not a good lesson to teach your child, but
No, I don't do roller coasters.
yeah. But since I've conquered my fear of roller coasters, I don't really go anymore. So I guess it's not really a huge worry in my life. I don't really have to face my fears that often.
Was it something
But
that you thought of every day?
I think as a kid, I was like, one day I'll be back. But as an adult, I'm like, oh, I have control over my actions and my whereabouts. So, but yeah. Do you have any fun facts about the ride or the movie?
I do. So the singing bus that like the barbershop quartet little guys,
Oh.
those are the Dapper Dans, who are actually a barbershop quartet that performs in Disneyland's Main Street. Um,
Oh.
so
I
they're
remember the busts as being a big part of the movie when I was a kid.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Very memorable.
yeah, so the whole like movie is just very much like Disney World inspired. So like the Gracie family is named after Yale Gracie, who was one of the original Imagineers of the Haunted Mansion
Oh.
ride. But like it's not that's not the storyline or anything in the actual ride. There is like a bride that's like till death do us both part, but
Oh
that's
my God.
it. Um, and towards the beginning of the movie, when the two homeowners start singing "Happy Anniversary," it's a reference to this radio ad for Disneyland's anniversary. That was the same song, and it did so badly that they had to pull the campaign.
Oh my God.
Um, and
Wow.
also Madame Leota, who is the medium whose head is enclosed in her crystal ball, is named after an Imagineer, Leota Toombs, who worked on numerous Disneyland projects in the 1960s.
Ooh.
Um,
Yeah. I liked how he referred to her crystal ball as a paperweight in the
oh
movie.
yeah.
I like that.
And there are also a bunch of like different hidden Mickeys throughout the movie.
Oh.
So like the lock on the gate is shaped as a Mickey head. When Ramsley pours the poison, it forms a Mickey
Oh, it
head.
forms a Mickey.
The couch in the library looks like a Mickey head. There are a bunch of
Oh,
things on the
wow.
doors that are Mickey heads. So a bunch of hidden Mickeys there.
Oh.
And
It's
something that
very interesting to have such a jolly character be in such a sinister environment in a
yeah.
movie.
And something
Yeah.
I didn't realize that in 2010 it was announced that there was going to be a reboot adaptation, probably because the movie got 13% on Rotten Tomatoes. Um, but it had Guillermo del Toro serving as writer. And
Really?
yeah,
Oh
but
my God.
by 2013, he's no longer the director, but still as a writer and producer. And in 2015, Ryan Gosling was in early negotiations to star. Um, and
Oh
in
my God.
2020, there was a new screenwriter brought in, and just this month, it got a director. So it's been 10
Wow.
years.
A
And
long time coming.
yeah,
Movies take so long to get made. It's kind of crazy sometimes. Damn. Guillermo del Toro.
yeah,
Big name. Oh my God. Do you want to go through the movie from the beginning
sure.
and delve in?
So we start out with the Walt Disney logo heading to the Haunted Mansion. So shit gets real right away. We open with the welcome foolish mortals, which like how did they
We
know?
love that. How did they know?
Um, and then we open with the party, the little
Oh
ball
yeah, they
thing.
have a very long credit sequence in the beginning,
Yeah.
which is a very like old-fashioned thing to do with movies, and like they included like plot in the credits too, which was a nice touch.
Oh,
Yeah, a lot of movies don't really do that anymore. Especially with streaming, you can like skip all the credits and stuff or title sequences.
yeah.
But I love a period movie. I think that's part of why I liked it so much as a kid was like all the costumes and like old-timey garb, I guess.
Hmm.
I feel like they teetered between like 1800s aesthetic and like early 1910s.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it was kind of inconsistent, but very pretty nonetheless.
Yeah.
Also, the wedding dress was very it was a big, what's it called when it doesn't fit with the history? Oh my God, anachronism.
Anachronism?
Like ANACHRONISM. How do you say that?
I have no idea. Thank you guys.
Anachronism. Yeah, anachronisms. Yeah. The costume, the wedding dress costume in the film was a big anachronism for the time period it was set in. It looks very modern.
Yeah.
But there we go. I finally found that word that I was looking for.
Yeah, so we get the writing the letter, and our main dude reads the letter and looks like overly shocked in like a really bad, like I just dropped all my Tupperware commercial kind of way. It was just very over the top.
We love to see
and then
it.
we have the tarot card of death, which is subtle, and a wine glass falling out of a hand.
Very dramatic.
And then
I remember that visual very vividly as a kid of seeing the wine glass on the couch, and I was just like so concerned about like how they're gonna get the stain out as a child. I was like, oh no, wine is so bad for stains.
How old were you?
I was like 6 when I saw the movie in theaters.
And you were thinking about how much wine stains?
Yeah, because don't you remember all those commercials about like OxyClean and stuff where they'd like spill wine on a carpet and then like pour OxyClean on the carpet and they're like, it's gone. And I was like, they need OxyClean. Those commercials made a big impact on me as a kid.
Yeah. I didn't know that you were the target audience for OxyClean.
Right? I was so concerned.
And so then the guy just starts throwing papers and crashing glass, which seemed like a lot.
Male tantrum. We love to see it.
And then he hangs himself. And that was a lot. And that's just in
not
the
a good
title
image
credits.
for a 6-year-old to see. Yeah.
So that's just in the first 3 minutes of the movie. And then we cut to a kid biking, and a ghost pushes him back, and he like leaves all his shit and runs away.
Yeah, he drops all of the real estate flyers, which is one thing that I like I was like, it's not really a plot hole, but it was something that concerned me when I watched the movie. I was like, so is there any real connection between her and the Elizabeth character, like the wife?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or is this whole shit just like because the butler was like, oh, she looks just like her, so I'm gonna like cause some shit.
Yeah, I hope my doppelganger isn't like dead and I'm gonna be called.
Because I feel like it's like a trope in a lot of horror movies where it's like their ancestors are like reincarnation and that's why they look alike, but they're not related.
Yeah.
I think the whole plot is literally just like they looked alike and the butler was like, oh, she's good enough. I'm going to take her.
Well, I like that later how Eddie Murphy was like, she's not your Elizabeth. She's Sarah. She's from Jersey.
From New Jersey.
Like that was as much
that
explanation as he needed.
Right? And I'm like, how could she have been this long lost soul? She's from Jersey. But yeah. So I guess for anyone who's never heard or seen of the movie before, the general gist of the movie, the plot of the movie is that there's this family with the couple are real estate agents. We love to see it. And basically they're trying to go visit this house right before they go on vacation to see if they can sell this mansion for the owner. And they wanted to meet the wife specifically. And it was very creepy. The butler calls her on the phone, calls their house, and is like, hey, we'd like to put our house on the market. Can you sell it for us? Can we meet and discuss the details? But only you. We don't want your husband or your children. And she's like, no. And then they do it anyways. How that's so creepy. The fact that they even asked that, they should have been like, that's really creepy. We should not go.
Yeah.
Let's just go on vacation. But they make the wrong decisions. But yeah, so basically they show up at this haunted mansion and chaos ensues. They get trapped and then they try to escape. That's I guess
that was me on the ride trying to
trying to escape. That's like their general the general plot of the movie. Whereas I feel like most haunted house movies are more like a family moves in and like they discover ghosts, whereas I feel like this family clearly did not have to be there and they end up getting trapped anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And so then we go into Eddie Murphy. I think his name is Jim in the movie, but we're gonna call him Eddie
Jim.
Murphy. I
love Eddie Murphy.
Showing a house, and the guy who's looking at it is like, there isn't enough plugs. I just know what I want. And then she's like, would you like a divorce? Because I'll bring it. And I was like, who is this for? Who is this movie for?
It's like I was literally flashbacked to every HGTV episode I've ever seen where it's just like, it's this couple buying a house and they clearly hate each other and they're making a lifelong commitment of purchasing a house together. But
at Ever and Evers, we want you to be happy forever and ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a bad slogan.
I feel like a lot of the exposition of the movie is just establishing that Mr. Jim Evers, Eddie Murphy, is just like, he's great at his job, loves to do it, and is like a workaholic, where he's ignoring his family duties to his wife, who she also works with him. So I'm like, why is she so not involved in his work?
That's the thing that I didn't understand. So basically the whole idea is that he is late for their anniversary because he's selling a house. But then he like talks to his kids and he's like, I'm the sole breadwinner of the family. But I thought they're like partners at their real estate.
They work together.
So I'm confused.
And there's a point where he's like, oh, well, like, will you enjoy me making money when I buy you expensive gifts with the money that I earn? And I'm like, your income is like, you both make an income.
Yeah.
You both are bringing in your real estate business. It's not just your money. And I was like, that's really shitty.
Yeah.
That was a bad move.
Then we go to Lorraine and Gary. Gary looked really familiar, and I can't place where he's from. But the actor looks really
he's
familiar.
in a ton of Disney stuff. He plays like really annoying characters. I'm trying to think of a specific example, but he plays like those characters where he's like never any of the main characters, but he's like a character actor or whatever.
Because he wasn't even on the IMDb.
Effect. He wasn't?
No.
Oh my god. But he's been in so much. I'm trying to think of another, but he's usually like a evil side character or whatever in Disney stuff. So he did a lot of kid stuff. He was in Modern Family. He was also in all the Fred movies. Do you remember Fred?
Oh.
From YouTube? He was in Friends. He was Mr. Thompson. Yeah, I think the most memorable thing he's been in was Seinfeld, but
so Eddie Murphy goes to meet Lorraine and Gary at this like weird tiki bar thing that I think was a thing in like the time period. Like I think it was an early 2000 thing.
Tiki bars were a big thing, yeah.
And they're like, it's just like Hawaii, which was so sad. And it felt like what people do now where they put like a Hawaiian background in their like Zoom meetings. They're like, it's just like Zoom I'm meetings. In Hawaii. It's just so sad. And then he shows up at his house with the teddy bear. Do adults get adults teddy bears?
I feel like they used to be. It's like a Valentine's Day present. Not usually a big one, but like it's usually accompanied with like a box of chocolates. But I mean, I don't know. I'm a very picky like gift receiver. So if I have no use for the item, I'm like, why would you give me junk? Why would you spend your hard-earned money on something I will not use in my everyday life?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
do you want to have things screened beforehand?
No, you should just know me well.
Wait, I'm sorry.
And if you don't need to buy me a present. We're cool. Or just buy me food, you know?
Silvana, did
like
you
I love
switch
chocolates.
Mugs?
I finished my tea in this one, and now I'm drinking water in my other mug. You caught me.
So then he starts talking about how he sold 7 houses this month. and
Oh my God.
but he
Is he
missed.
loaded?
I don't know, but he missed like soccer games and barbecues. But again, why wasn't she
Hmm.
there? Like if they're like partners.
Right. But also, I kind of hate the trope of the like, oh, like something goes wrong that they couldn't really have prevented. And so because they're late to this thing, like they get shit from their wife and their wife's annoyed. And I'm like, most people are super understanding when like unexpected things pop up or like there's an opportunity you can't say no to. But I think it's like that one line where it's like, oh, it's clearly a pattern of behavior. It's not just like, oh, something came up.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he like actively avoids going to events that he needs to go to.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. It would be different if like she was just like a stay-at-home mom or something or just taking care of other stuff, but they literally work together
Mm-hmm.
as a team. So she's like, "Oh yeah, of course." Or like if they're busy, they're both busy. And it's
Yeah.
not like she gets to take off work to go to these things and he doesn't, you know?
Yeah, it seemed like is she only there to look at the haunted properties when they see her face and are like, "Are you an ancestor of our long lost love?" She only does those kinds of houses.
Yeah.
um, and then we meet Michael, who's his kid and who's afraid of spiders, and wants
Oh yeah.
Eddie Murphy to kill the spider. And then we get a weird moment where he has the Sports Illustrated like bikini edition.
Yeah. Okay.
Again,
Can
who
we
is
talk
this
about
for?
how this movie literally opens up with a suicide, and like within the first 5 minutes, they allude to like a young boy reaching puberty in ways that I don't want to discuss.
Yeah.
You know, I'm
What a
like, damn,
film.
is this a kids movie? Because I totally did not understand that when I
Yeah.
was a kid watching it.
What is
Right
more
over my
scary?
head.
Ghosts or puberty?
Right, but there was that's his whole like story arc of him like becoming a man, and I'm also like he's a 10-year-old boy, like let him be a boy.
Yeah. No,
Like let him be
clearly they're
scared.
not Jewish. They at least wait until they're
Yeah,
like 12.
yeah, but I did like the theme of like you can't let your fears like prevent you from doing stuff, you
See,
know.
I liked that, but the way that they phrased it was don't be afraid of anything. They'll use it against you.
They'll use it
And I was
against
like,
you.
is this Harry
That was
Potter?
so sinister. That was so sinister. And I'm like, is that like racial undertones of like you have to be brave because like there are evil white people out there? Because that's what happens. The evil white people try and
Yeah.
get them. You
I
know?
thought it was like Harry Potter ridiculous. Like you shouldn't have any
They
fear.
use it against you. But it is like fear can be a very controlling force and
Mhm.
you can't be controlled, you know?
Yeah.
But I loved the girl character. She was
Megan.
very, I think she had the most agency out of all the characters, more than Eddie Murphy and his wife.
Yeah.
She was like, I'll kill the fucking spider. And like when later in the movie his dad goes into like someplace scary, she's like, you're not doing this fast enough. Like I need to help you. And he's like, go look after your brother. And she's like, he's fine. I got this. And she's the one who like, you know, she has her shit together.
Yeah. And I think is
No
she
character
13?
growth for
I
her.
think she's 13.
She's 13, yeah.
I wish
Yeah.
I was that way at 13. And then the creepy guy calls the house to put his house on the market and is talking to the wife and saying that she has a really trustworthy face and he liked her face from the ad. And that's just like
Very
weird.
creepy.
That's weird to that you would be like, okay, thanks for the business opportunity.
Yeah, and also if you're trying to like lure someone into your home, like you can at least fake being not creepy,
Yeah,
you know? You can come up with things that won't set off alarm bells.
exactly. And the master wishes to meet you tomorrow evening.
Oh
Like
my
that's
god.
fucking weird.
Yeah. That like owning a house and calling someone like a master of the estate, like that's so very very old.
Yeah. And then so then they drive to the see the house on the way to their family vacation to the lake. Um, and the gate won't open, so instead of doing anything, they just keep honking at it. um,
Yeah.
and they see the big padlock, and um, Eddie Murphy just says they must have a big possum problem. Which, out of all the reasons to have a gate, Possum
Also,
isn't fully what comes to mind first.
yeah, also possums are like relatively small creatures. They can climb through the gate very, very
Yeah.
easily. So, I don't
Um,
know. Maybe he's trying to like quell his kids' worry.
yeah.
I'm still terrified of possums. I'd be like, let's go.
And then the gate randomly opens and they just drive in and they're fine. They're like, this is normal. And if you notice, their license plate is Evercell, which was a nice
Hmm.
little detail. Um, and then we get the whole thing where they're like, don't slam the car door. We love the car. And so then you know that something later is going to happen.
Yeah,
They have to
someone's going
sacrifice
to.
the car.
Yeah.
Um, and he keeps saying that will be 20 minutes tops. And then they see the big cemetery. And the mom, I think it's the mom who just says some people have pools, some people have private cemeteries.
Yeah.
Would you move to a place
Um,
that had a big cemetery in the backyard?
no, it's very weird that the cemetery was so big,
Mm-hmm.
unless it was like a town cemetery. Because I know very old houses
They
will
just
have like,
murdered
they'll
everyone.
bury the family there, but it's like the family's like six people,
Yeah.
like a few generations. It's not like a massive, like acres and acres of hills of just dead bodies. Like,
Yeah, I was
how long have
confused if
white people
they're
been in America? Not that long to have that many dead bodies, unless you
yeah.
buried an entire village, you know?
Maybe
But that's also
everyone at
something.
that ball died.
Maybe. Oh my god. But then they like buried everybody. Like at least they like had a funeral
Yeah, they
and
kept
like
one person
bought a
alive
stone.
to do
Yeah,
the
but
burying.
yeah, but that was one thing that was a bit weird was everyone. I mean, like the time period they set the ghosts in is like very ambiguous, but it's still in America. Everybody's British for no reason. They're just like, oh, you're 100 years old. You're British. Like, why? Like, clearly they're in America. Like, even Americans back in the day still like didn't speak in a British accent. But
I guess
it's a Disney movie. They weren't trying too hard.
the original colonizers are just more scary if they have the British accent.
That's true. Evil people in movies are more likely to have accents.
Hmm.
So we love a little dash of xenophobia.
And then it just randomly starts raining. And so they run to the
Mm.
door and say, "Look at the size of those knockers," which
Oh
seems
my god. I did not realize that. Oh my god. Wow.
and then the door randomly opens, and again they're not questioning anything, and they just walk in.
Mhm.
Um, and they say that the house smells like grandma. So,
Oh yeah, they have a whole conversation about like mothballs.
mhm. um, and then Ramsley comes in, only illuminated by lightning, which was weird. And so Eddie
Yeah.
Murphy's not creeped out at all, and just gives him a waterproof calendar.
Yeah, I'm like, is that a thing
I don't
that
know.
people give people? But he's very like salesman, very jolly, very let me shake your hand when he meets people, and they're all just like, no, thank you. Which could be a ghost thing. You can like, although the ghosts touch them later on, and it's fine. Like they don't maybe want to give away that they're not that you can like punch them and just your hand will go through. But it could also be a race thing because as we
Oh.
see very much through the movie, um, the root evil of all of what goes on is the butler is extremely racist, and was society and is society. And it's just never addressed in the movie. It's like alluded to, but we don't talk about it, which is very 2000s like it's very like 2000s PC culture at the time is like we don't talk about it because if we don't talk about it, it doesn't exist, which is not truly the case.
But it was
But
like weird to bring in that element and then not explain that the butler is is less scary because he's a ghost and more scary because he's a racist.
right.
Um,
And it's I think it was interesting because I was like 6 at the time watching this movie. All the like racial undertones kind of like went over my head.
mhm.
Um But I'm also guessing like all the black families in the theater watching the movie were probably like, oh, we know what's going on
Yeah.
and it's not cool.
Well, because like all they said was like we were from different classes or something, and that was
Yeah.
it. But
Very
yeah,
sketch.
and um, yeah, it was just very, very strange. And I also don't understand how they're gonna do the adaptation with Ryan Gosling. Is it just not? Are they just gonna take out the race element? Because I feel like they could correct it, and they
Maybe.
might just be like,
Yeah.
now let's just not do it at all.
Or maybe he's like he plays the master of the house and not the Eddie Murphy character.
Yeah.
But I feel like Eddie Murphy was like he sort of like carried that movie with like his humor and everything.
What about
That it'd
Megan?
be yeah, that like if the movie was made without him it'd be like very different in tone, very different kind of film. But I do love Eddie Murphy. I also want to plug I saw his movie Dolomite over quarantine last year. Very good movie. Does address race in the film industry specifically. So if you're looking for
Oh.
that, very good film to check out. But I do love Eddie Murphy. He was, I think, a pretty big part of like kids' movies at the time too.
Mhm.
Like he was in Shrek at the time. His voice was very like omnipresent in all the all the movies being made at the time.
Yeah.
So we love an Eddie Murphy movie. But
And so then they go and have dinner with Edward Gracie, even though we never really see them eating ever. Um,
yeah.
and it's weird because Master Gracie is just saying, like, pretending that he's the grandson of himself to not give away that he's like eternal.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Okay, so it is three generations then.
yeah,
The anachronisms are insane in this
yeah.
movie. I hate that.
But then it just keeps on it keeps on like being really weird where he doesn't shake Eddie Murphy's hand and then he says you have very beautiful children, Miss Evers.
Very
And
creepy.
and I don't know, Eddie Murphy says I kicked in some chromosomes too, which seems like a weird moment. And then
Yeah.
Ramsey says like children, madam, dinner is ready and everyone's just like has
That happens
written
so
up
quickly.
Eddie Murphy at
Yeah.
this point. Um and then Sarah starts talking about how the house has like an Italian and Renaissance style. And it's like, girl, can you just notice that it's haunted? Like, why are you paying attention to the architecture when doors are
Yeah.
opening by themselves? And then there's just like a weird eye contact between Master Gracie and Sarah. And like Eddie Murphy's just there on the side. And it's just a really awkward moment for I think all of us.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like as an adult, you learn who is socially acceptable to like make intense eye contact with and who not to. You don't want to make extremely intense eye contact with someone else's wife
Yeah.
like that at a dinner table. So red flags immediately.
Yeah.
And then,
Edward Gracie isn't exactly subtle. And then he
yeah,
starts talking about ghosts, and no one seems bothered by that. And Eddie Murphy's like, let's just talk about the bathrooms and the listing and leave out the ghosts. Except, like, how are you going to get over the cemetery?
yeah, it's kind of a hard house to sell. Like they come in and it's clearly in ruins. And then he's like, "Oh, we'll just get a cleaning crew. It's cool."
Yeah. And then they
But
say that there's flooding on the road. There will be no leaving the mansion tonight.
yeah, and I'm like, "What kind of radio message did you get? Like how do you know?"
You
And
just
they're
seem
just
to
like,
look
"Oh,
out the window.
yeah." And it's like I mean, unless there's like a tornado outside, I wouldn't just like stay in a stranger's house
Mm-hmm.
overnight. Just be like, "Oh, I guess that's what I'm going to do." Like, I don't know. I guess this was, before Uber, before transportation was like easily accessible.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They did have a very nice car that couldn't seem to overcome the flooding.
Yeah.
But
And then everyone's shown their rooms. Um, and Sarah and Eddie Murphy get into the fight about how um, he only cares about work.
mm,
And she throws the watch that he gave her. And she locks herself in the bathroom. And Eddie Murphy is summoned to talk to the master in the library.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, I guess there what I don't know if this is a race thing, but Eddie Murphy was like, Ramsley, you should get a tan. And Ramsey was like, fuck off. And maybe it's because he loves his whiteness.
Yeah, maybe. I think it was mostly like I sort of perceived it as like a slight towards like ghosts are white and like more pasty than real humans, but I mean, those tiny racial undertones,
Yeah.
they're just coming out once you're paying attention.
And then he starts talking to Ramsley about being a butler. Um, and Ramsley says attending to details, understanding priorities, and knowing one's place. Which does he?
Yeah, and I'm also it's like what a superiority complex of like a person who's a butler for a living and he serves someone else. But I don't know. I did get very sketchy vibes from the butler early on. But I remember, I guess you're supposed to think it's like the master is the evil guy who's
Yeah.
trying to trick people, but maybe it's the butler, but maybe it's the butler just carrying out what the master wants.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really know. But I remember talking with my parents after the movie, and they were like, and we were like, oh my God, it was like the butler, like plot twist with the letter or whatever. And then my parents were like, oh, it's always the butler. Like,
Yeah.
we knew that was coming. When you see another horror film, you just know it's going to be the butler who's the evil guy at the end. And I was like, oh my God, crazy.
No, yeah.
I like didn't see it coming, but
It's also funny when Eddie Murphy is like, what is the master like? And Ramsley's like art, literature, beauty, which is like the most vague things you could have
yeah.
mentioned. Like, what about like, oh, he loves talking about bunnies or something that would have been helpful. And like Eddie Murphy's also a strange character in that he is trying to be charming to everyone, but then he just starts stealing shit from the house. He's like takes some cigars and like matches and just pockets it. And so is he
Really?
actually a good real estate agent?
Or is he just stealing from them?
Yeah.
I think the seller, the master was definitely like, "Oh, I just want to like get rid of everything. I want to get rid of the house." But very very sketchy.
Yeah.
But I think once we separate the wife and Eddie Murphy and like the kids are separated, that's when the real like haunted mansion exploration, you know, goofs start occurring where they kind of find all the tricky stuff and get lost.
Because Eddie Murphy
But
finds this secret passageway that he just decides to walk into. And
yeah, always a
then
bad idea.
the kids just decide to follow a blue orb. um,
Yeah.
and Eddie Murphy says, where's that scary albino when you need him? That was interesting.
That is funny. Maybe there are a few more racial stuff that I just like didn't pick up on. Damn.
And then Sarah chases after a maid who doesn't say anything, and then she disappears. And then Ramsley tells her to go to the library, and she goes in and just starts saying like, "Honey, it's late. Come to bed." And then it's just like Master Gracie, which is like the weirdest, most
Yeah.
awkward moment.
But also it's like she can't see who's in the chair.
Yeah,
But then how did she know that the room wasn't just empty?
I don't know.
She just like
Just
was
she's
told
just
her husband
overly
was there, so she
confident.
just yeah. Cuz also you can't mistake them for each other.
Yeah.
Two very different looking people.
Um, and then Mr. Gracie says that he will show him around the house. But like everyone already went to bed. Like, isn't it weird that everyone's like just suddenly back up and just at it
Yeah.
again? Um, and then he like puts out his arm and he just said like she's like kind of willing to go, and then he goes, "There's nothing to be afraid of," which would make me afraid
Yeah.
because like that wasn't even
Also
on her
it's like
mind.
yeah, and it's just like this random guy who you don't know
hmm
who's like very creepy.
And then
I don't
he
know.
starts
Don't trust it.
telling her about being a Gracie means that you were denied nothing, everything was yours. And so he's just describing white privilege.
Yeah. Wow, just like bragging about this life that he led of
hmm
privilege.
And then he starts talking about Elizabeth's story haunting the walls. Um, and the kids continue following the orb. Eddie
Are-
Murphy finds a door that's breathing. And he says, "Ah, termites."
Classic real estate humor. But yeah, I think the door and then the orb sort of leads him back to the kids, right?
Yeah, because he walks through and hears a phone ringing, and like I don't like talking on the phone. I wouldn't just answer someone else's phone. Um,
Yeah, and also like if the haunting took place when everybody died like in like the early 1900s or whenever, they didn't have phones back then, right?
yeah.
Or at least not phones that rang like that. So,
Did Ramsley go to Best Buy? um, but then he sees himself all ghostly in the mirror, and he like
yeah.
drops the candlesticks and then just picks them back up. Like, wouldn't he have set the house on fire?
Yeah. Yeah, like they didn't move at all.
So that was interesting. Um, and then the orb brings the kids through the attic and shows them a picture of Elizabeth that looks like their mom. And
Yeah.
Wallace Shawn from Princess Bride comes out with the maid. Um,
Yeah. Oh my God. That was, I forgot that he was in the movie and that was a very big
right.
surprise. Love that guy.
And the maid just starts offering them cookies and ends up covering for them when Ramsley comes in, which was really nice. That was a really nice moment
Yeah.
that they're willing to protect the children. Yeah, so then Ramsley, we figure out that it's kind of like Ramsley is somewhat of a mastermind around here and that
Yeah.
nothing will interfere with the plan. Um,
Yeah.
and then Eddie Murphy finds Madame Leota. I don't know. What did you think of the rhymes that she said? I didn't think they were very good.
They weren't good, but I think her shtick was like, she was kind of like, she was very sassy and like not really trying to be good at her job of like telling the future or like giving them clues. So she was just like very sarcastic and is like, I'm doing my best, like take it or leave it. Like I'm not gonna try and make sense for you.
She says, "Evil and darkness have fallen this night, but now to survive you must gain new sight," which is not very good.
Yeah.
um, and she basically tells him that he must break the curse um, to save his family. And he runs out and finds the kids. And he doesn't believe in ghosts until the maid like materializes in front of her. It's like,
Oh
you don't
yeah.
have food poisoning. This is happening.
Yeah, he kind of blames his solution hallucinations on the chicken they had at dinner,
Yeah.
and then she's like, "How dare you insult my cooking?
Yeah.
I am a ghost. It wasn't the chicken. The chicken was fine."
Then we're back with Gracie and Sarah. And he starts talking about how he and his love were from two different worlds and they couldn't be together. And that was weird. And
Yeah, and that was the time as a kid where I'm like, two different worlds, like what does that mean? They're at the same party, hanging out. Like I didn't really get that. And it was something that like did bug me as a kid watching the movie, but I just kind of like, it was like, okay, I guess we'll just accept it and move on. But yeah, I think the history period that they're trying to call back to, it's definitely like post Civil War. So, they're free people, but they're not, you know, operating in the same circles of society, I guess. But they did go to the same party, and she's rich enough to wear a very beautiful dress
yeah,
at the party with gloves. I don't see the issue here. But
exactly.
I mean,
Um,
racism
yeah. And then he
causes
says
all these
that,
problems.
exactly. Then he says she took her own life by poison. And then he hung himself. His soul wanders these halls waiting for her to return. If you listen carefully, you can still hear the beating of his broken heart.
Aw.
Freaking creepy. It's like
What a sad boy.
it's like you put your ear
Making
like a
his depression
shell.
everybody's issues. He's
Yeah.
like, I'm sad. No one in my household is allowed to ascend to heaven.
Well, it's kind of like Beauty and the Beast, I guess, in like a way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I guess that is the kind of same kind of structure.
And then we go back to Madame Leota and the kids, and Eddie Murphy seems more upset that the house isn't for sale than like the the ghost and his
Yeah.
wife.
Yeah, I also think like I never really understood how real estate works as a kid. So I didn't understand why they were so hell bent on selling this house. And now I kind of realize that, oh, they work on commission. Like if they sell the house for a lot, it means they're getting like a really huge
Mm-hmm.
pay cut out of it, payout. But so I'm like, if they're looking at selling this multi-million-dollar uh, mansion, they're like, oh, we could like make $1 million off this one sale.
Yeah.
So when you look at it that way, I'm like, oh, okay, I can understand being very motivated to try and sell this house. But as a kid, I was like, these stupid adults risking their children's lives just to sell a house. They've sold so many houses. What does it matter? But money, man.
And so then they have to go and find this key to break the spell, and Wallace Shawn takes them through a ghost carriage, and we see all the ghosts like shooting at each other and having tea and biking, and I was confused what
Yeah.
era they
So
were
it
all
is
in.
confusing that they travel through this graveyard, so they're encountering all these ghosts. But where like I guess they did just murder everybody at the party
Yeah.
and just buried all of them because they're all sort of from the same time period too. Um but I guess that room where they found Madame Leota just had like a bunch of like old knickknacks and like storage because they definitely uh, like sort of jump out of this house in a horse-drawn carriage, and I'm like, was that inside? Was that, did we pass that? Did I see that? I'm like, where did this carriage come from? And they just sort of pop out with this huge dead horse skeleton that I
They have a
wasn't
garage.
wasn't in the scene beforehand.
Yeah.
So
And then there's just like a headless woman on a seesaw. And it's like, did she not get buried with her head? What
did
happened?
they have seesaws back in the day?
I don't
I have
even
no
know.
idea.
And then they have a reference to a horror movie. Silvana, if you would like to.
Oh my god. Yeah, so as they're driving through the carriage and they're seeing all these ghosts, the little boy is like, Dad, I see dead people, which is a direct reference to a hot horror film at the time, very popular, called The Sixth Sense, where this little boy says, I see dead people. So a big shout out to all like the adults in the theater, which was very much appreciated to me as an adult now rewatching it. But I was like, oh, humor. I definitely did not catch that as a kid. I think the Sixth Sense came out within like a year or two of the movie, like a year or two before or whenever. Because 2003 I think was right around that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love little callbacks. It's fun to rewatch kids movies and be like, oh, now I can see all of the like little tiny jokes the screenwriters put in for the parents in the theater to enjoy. And now I feel like, oh, I get all the references.
And then Michael starts talking about how it's romantic, how Mr. Gracie was going to throw away everything for love. And I was confused if that meant that he was like the part that he was going to like leave his family fortune behind. Or like, or
I
if the kid
guess.
was like, I like that he killed himself, because that seems weird to me.
I guess it's sort of like that Romeo and Juliet of like, oh, she's dead, I might as well die. But I guess like he was willing to like risk everything, like um maybe shunning from society, or like I do know back in the day it was like a big thing where it's like, oh, if you marry a person not approved by the family, like you give up all your rights to the family and like the family inheritance. So he would have like given up owning the mansion and like all his money or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, their love wasn't strong enough to defeat their evil butler,
Oh.
so you know.
And then we find the barbershop quartet statues that just keep singing One moment
Yeah.
that they do is like, you left your key like down in Dixie, and
Oh
Dixie is
yeah.
typically like used in songs about the Confederacy.
Yeah, Dixie is sort of like south of the Mason-Dixon line, and so they were referring to the South. So I guess like I wasn't really sure where this movie takes place. Wife is from New
I
Jersey,
think it's
guessing
in
they're
New
not currently in
Orleans.
Jersey. New Orleans?
Hmm.
Did they mention that?
No, I just looked that up.
Oh my god, because I wasn't really sure. The mansion did seem a little swampy and like with the flooding and stuff, and like the terrain that they drive through to get to the mansion. That seems definitely plausible. And New Orleans is hella haunted. And there was a lot of racist white people in New Orleans too back in the day, so that definitely makes sense. I think also the ghosts at one point were like, I don't think they can see us, but then they were like, we can
Yeah.
definitely see you.
Yeah.
But the headstones are definitely not super helpful. They just
Mhm.
want to sing to their heart's content.
Which that's, I mean, it's nice.
Yeah, who cares about helping these people escape? We just want to jam. We just want to band practice,
Yeah.
for all eternity.
It was like the little singing Cupid the night at the museum too.
Mm.
By the Jonas Brothers. Um, and then they find the mausoleum, and suddenly Megan has studied Latin for 3 years and can read
Oh yeah,
the warning.
what 13-year-old is allowed to study Latin for unless they like pay for classes outside of school? No school teaches like elementary school children how to speak Latin that early for 3 years. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
And then
She's a smart cookie though,
Michael gets scared, and Eddie Murphy says you have to be a man, which I think is a little intense.
which is definitely like toxic masculinity, man.
Yeah,
Like, let him feel validated in his emotions, or he's going to gaslight women in his future.
exactly.
Like, don't invalidate his feelings, please.
Um,
But I can understand the being like, oh, be courageous. But spiders are definitely like the least scariest thing in the movie. So I don't know.
because
He faced it.
racism is the most.
Yeah, it's the true evil in the world.
Yeah.
But
And then Eddie Murphy says that he'll go in alone, and Megan shows up because she's like, "You're a fucking idiot."
yeah,
and
yeah.
um, then they find the corpse with the key, but then the corpse sits up, and like all the corpses in the mausoleum just start like chasing them. But they
Yeah,
like,
that was the scariest scene in the movie, I'm pretty
yeah.
sure. Is that like all the zombies sort of rise up from the dead and try and take their key back, I
But
guess.
there were like ones that were in like very little bins. So I was wondering if those are like corpses of little children.
Oh
Did you notice
no,
that? There
maybe.
were like little baby ones. And I was like, that's kind of a weird thing. Is it like, because I wasn't sure if it was like, because I guess babies did die in infancy, but there was also like miscarriages and stuff. And I was like, that's a weird thing to bring up. Um,
Yeah.
and um, and so finally Megan finds the key, and they run upstairs, but the door locks, and Michael won't open the door because it's covered in spiders.
I
But
love how his fear of spiders is stronger than his love for his
yeah,
family. But because we see Megan conquer any sort of fear right before that, at a 13-year-old, she's fully realized, self actualized, and that she knows that she has to go get the key to save everyone. So she's like, she says to herself, I don't want to do this, and then does it anyway because she's got her shit together and she like conquers her fears. She also opens her eyes underwater, which is the scariest thing to me as a
yeah,
child.
no, yeah.
And that dirty, murky water, that's scarier than the skeleton. The
Hmm.
skeletons aren't that strong. They've got no muscles. What can they do to you? But opening your eyes up in the dirty, moldy water, I'm like, I think you'd go blind,
Yeah.
man. So scary.
But what I don't understand is why they don't say like, "Hey, Michael, we're just about to be killed by zombies. Can you open the door?"
Right?
Instead, they're like
Like
building him
skeletons are
up,
after
and they're
us.
like, "It's gonna be okay."
Yeah,
Should
and then
explain the
and then
situation.
no, it's not like the sister's not like, "Oh, like we're about to get like killed by these skeletons. Please save us." She's like, "I'm going to kill you. Like
Yeah,
I'm going to survive all these skeletons chasing me, but I'm going to kill you afterwards."
that's siblings right there.
Yeah. And then he's still not motivated enough, but yeah.
Um, and then they bring the key to Madame Leota, and she says that they have to find a trunk. And then they just bring her up to the attic. They're sick of this riddle bullshit. And she says, "Find the thing that must be read, lest your heart be filled with dread," which is okay. It's an okay line. Um,
3 out of 5.
and then they find the letter from Elizabeth saying that she'll marry him, and it's revealed that she didn't kill him herself and that someone gave him the wrong letter. And Ramsley shows up and says he killed Elizabeth because the master wouldn't listen to reason and that running away with the girl would have destroyed the house. And so we realize that it is just like him being a huge racist.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And he literally, I guess like the only reason why he wanted like an Elizabeth lookalike to come into the mansion was like, oh, me killing everyone didn't work out for the best.
mm-hmm.
So
But then
he's
I'm kind
like,
of
I'll let him have, you know, someone who looks like his wife, but the caveat is that I get to kill her again.
well, yeah,
So
because
that's
like
his master plan.
I don't understand what really the curse was.
Yeah, I
Was it
guess
just like
like they
Master
had to like
Gracie has
reunite the souls or
yeah.
something. Or I guess like the truth had to come to light.
Oh yeah.
And so once like everybody knows everything,
Mm-hmm.
then problem solved.
Yeah, we just do a share circle. Just play
Yeah.
truth or dare, and this would have ended a couple of years ago.
Yeah. But also, I kind of like the idea that once you die, you just kind of know everything
Mm-hmm.
anyways. But you still have to tell the dead the truth.
Yeah.
The dead aren't all knowing. But
And so then Ramsey says that he's gonna kill Sarah so that he can join Edward in like the beyond. And he just throws Eddie Murphy out a window, and he falls on like another window, and then he
yeah. And
falls
I'm
on
like,
his
how is he going to
car.
survive that? And he kind of just
Yeah.
kind of like hits things along the way that break his fall, lands on his car, hurts his pride.
Yeah. And then
But
all the windows shutter up, and um, Edward um, brings her, brings Sarah into the ballroom, and he starts asking her if she remembers him. And
yeah,
finally, this
he's
woman
so
is
stupid.
fucking creeped out. Like, I would have been creeped out by that
Yeah.
first phone call that was like, "We just want you to come without your husband." But
Yeah. I literally, like,
finally,
if someone told me that I need to show up to a location, meeting someone I don't know, somewhere I've never been, and told me to come alone, I would have been like, hey, police, this number from this caller meeting at this location is trying to kidnap me and get me into human trafficking. So please shut that down. This predator is like trying to attack people.
but so
Immediately, that
finally,
would be my first
Sarah
thought.
is awake, and she's like, "This is weird." I guess that was the big trigger for her. Eddie Murphy can't get into the house, and Sarah's forced
Yeah.
into a wedding dress, and she Ramsley threatens the
Yeah.
children if she doesn't like go with
Yeah.
the
She's
wedding.
definitely like, yo, what the fuck? I'm married to my husband in the year 2003. I'm not your wife.
Yeah,
I'm not Elizabeth. But then he's like, doesn't matter. I have your children. But yeah, it's very like, I guess there's nothing you can do when he threatens your kids, but I mean, she's just kind of accepted her fate pretty quickly of like, I guess I just have to go marry this white dude for no reason.
yeah. And then you have
But
that really bad organ that I wish they would tune because it just
yeah.
sounds awful. And um, Eddie Murphy just like starts crying, and randomly Madame Leota just starts rolling towards him. But like, wasn't she in the attic like a second ago?
Yeah, I guess she can just like roll wherever she pleases,
But then she was like, "I'm
but she's
fragile," so
definitely
hopefully she didn't fall out of the window.
yeah, she's definitely the voice of reason in that moment where
hmm
she says like, "Hey, like you have to try again, like don't be a failure. You're only a failure if you don't try." So, but it's also I love how it's like he's trying to save his family and he's like, "Oh, I can't do it. I guess I'll just sit here and wait until my family's dead. Like, you have to, if your family's in danger, like, you have to kill yourself to save them, you know? Like, you do every possible thing that you can. You don't just like, oh, that didn't work, I'm fine. Like, he literally like tried to break the window and it was like magic, so the
like,
window was unbreakable.
Whatever.
And I'm like, you don't want to like run around to like the nearest door or try a different window. You're just like, you're kaput. Like, good job trying. Like, what a great husband.
Right.
Of just like, oh, I give up. And it's not even like, she's not even like, hey, that's your wife in there, try again, like, think of something else. She's like, no, you don't want to be a failure. You don't want to be thought of as a failure. And that's what motivates him. Not that his wife is going to die. Oh my God.
Yeah. But then finally he runs his car into the house.
Sacrifices his one possession that he cares about.
And then the knights all start fighting Eddie Murphy while the church service is happening. And I guess technically Sarah does like marry him.
Yeah, but I'm like, according to who?
Yeah.
Like, they're not married under the eyes of the law. And the officiant was like a devil ghost who goes to hell. So
yeah. And so finally Eddie Murphy breaks out the kids and objects to the wedding. But I think Sarah drinks the wine.
It's hard to see if she like is able to take a sip or if she puts it to her mouth and is interrupted before she's able to swallow.
Yeah.
She does faint though. And they're like, it's the poison. And I'm like, well, and then, yeah.
And finally Eddie Murphy spills the beans that Ramsley killed Elizabeth, and gives Edward the real letter, and Edward finally believes it, which it took fuck long for that to happen. And
also for the master of a household, he's the stupidest guy.
Yeah.
Is he really gonna believe this random woman who just like happens to look like his ex from New Jersey like shows up and she's like, that's her? Like, what an idiot.
Yeah.
Rich white people are always the stupidest.
And then just like hell opens out of the fireplace.
Yeah, it's like once the truth is revealed, they're able to like go to their respective eternities.
But like if Ramsley knew where he was gonna go, would he have wanted the curse to be lifted?
Right? Like, was he so just like cocky? He's like, I'll go to the good place.
Even though I've murdered a bunch of people. Maybe he murdered everyone in the cemetery.
Maybe, but I mean, that would have been a lot of physical labor to murder everyone and then dispose of their bodies in the cemetery. Like, it's a lot of work for one butler. But as he's going down into the fireplace of hell, he like grabs Eddie Murphy's foot and like he sort of like drags him to where Eddie's just like hanging from a ledge. Very Mufasa moment. And then lo and behold, I don't know, I guess his wife didn't, I think his wife collapsed by then, I'm not sure, but it's the master who goes and like grabs his hand and saves him, which I guess ghosts can like touch things and not can decide when they're solid or not. But it's that point of redemption of the like, oh, I was fooled, that's why I was being so weird and creepy, please forgive me. And so he saves him. And then
so then Sarah
I think the orb comes back.
Yeah, and then the orb
that's when
comes
Sarah passes out. Yeah.
And it like goes into Sarah, and it's like, is that consensual?
Yeah. Yeah, the kids are definitely like, oh, our mother is possessed by this other ghost right now, so they know it's not their mother. But then once she's possessed, she like makes things right with Elizabeth. Sort of is like, yeah, I didn't mean to kill myself, I still love you, to the master. And then they make out in front of Sarah's entire family, and I'm like, that's not cool.
Very strange. But then like she kind of separates from Sarah's body, so like why did they have to use the actual body?
So that's the thing, it's like if Sarah passed out like because of the poison, once the spirit left her, wouldn't she just go back to being poisoned? But no, once the spirit leaves her, she's like okay again. And then the spirit just like materializes into her old body, and I'm like, if you were just already a ghost, like why did you have to be an orb to begin with?
Yeah.
You know?
Unclear. And then Edward just decides to give them the house and it's like, sell it, keep it, do what
Yeah,
makes
and I'm
your
like, where
family
did you
happy.
were you just like holding a copy of the deed in your jacket pocket?
The whole time.
Did you like sign over the deed? Did you make your signature valid and date it? Or are you just giving them a piece of paper?
He's been holding it for like 100 years.
Yeah.
Just in case. If a Girl Scout had come by, he would have given it over.
Yeah. So I guess in the end they do get the house and they're
Mhm.
able to like sell it and be super rich.
Yeah.
But
And then the
um
maid and Wallace Shawn come in with packed bags to go up to heaven as well. Are they the only ghosts like in the house?
I think they're the only ghosts that we like care about
Ah,
or
okay.
interact with. I think they're the only ghosts that are also trapped in the house and not out in the cemetery. But we do, as servants, they are very materialistic. You get that reference where, like, at the end, he's like, "Come on, we're gonna be late. Like, why do you have all this luggage? You don't need it. You can't take your things with you." And she's like, "You don't know. I'm gonna bring all my stuff just in case." And it's very like American materialism of like spending all this money caring about so many material things when really you can't take it with you. Like no one dies with their bank account. It all goes away. You can't bring it to the other side. But she's like, I don't care. I'm gonna do what I want.
Yeah, I love her. And I hope that the heaven and the hell isn't a permanent fixture of the house. Um,
Yeah, it's not like there's a fiery pit of hell underneath the foundation all the time.
yeah.
Just when the butler needs to be seized and taken back down.
And then they're driving and they randomly have Madame Leota in the back seat and they have the barbershop singers.
Yeah.
And I
So
didn't
because
get
they have the
that.
deed of the house, I guess they're just kind of like, oh, we can take what we want and then we'll
Yeah.
sell the rest. And they take the busts, the singing statues, and then Madame
But are they
Leota,
not
and that's it.
spirits? Are they like something else
Right?
that didn't go up?
Yeah. So Madame Leota wasn't like a trapped spirit. She's just like that forever.
Yeah.
And then the singing busts aren't spirits either.
I don't know.
They didn't get to go up to heaven, but
But I guess Madame Leota would be useful as like a GPS.
that's true. Or just, a really sarcastic conversation partner.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they definitely strap all the busts to the back of the car, which is their car okay suddenly? How are they leaving?
Well, no, they have a minivan this time.
They have a minivan now. Oh
And they're
yeah.
going to
And
the
then
lake, I think.
yeah, I definitely like how the wife is driving by the end cuz she's like, "You don't take us good places.
Yeah.
I'm the one in control now." But I also the road that they drive off into the sunset on with all their belongings, finally going on that vacation. There's only a few roads like that in the United States where it's just a road and it's completely on water. And one of them is in Virginia Beach, in Virginia. So I was like, oh, is the movie set in Virginia? Because that's also a swamp. But if it's set in New Orleans, that'd be cool that Louisiana also has a road like that where it's like just going over water. But it's a very cool, I've been on a road like that I think once and it was really cool to be on. But maybe once or twice. But it's cool that they included that in a movie because you can't really see roads like that everywhere. But yeah.
Yay, that's the movie.
Woo!
Do you want to go into our next segment?
Yeah, so next we're going to have a little fun throwback moment where we're taking a really ghosty Mad Lib.
From The Night of the Living Mad Libs.
Ooh. And then we're going to fill it out and see what kind of spooky stories come to light.
Okay.
So,
Silvana, could you give me a plural noun?
a plural noun, teenagers. Because I see the cast of High School Musical behind you.
And then I'll give an adjective. I'll do pretty. And then could you give me another noun?
Another noun, rock band. Is that, or do you
No, that's
need
good.
another noun? Yeah.
And then our next verb ending in ing is going to come from one of our listeners. Brooke
Ooh.
gave the wedding. So if you would like to play along, send us a message on Instagram or Twitter or email. We'll give all the information at the very end, and you can give us a noun, adjective, adverb,
Yeah.
verb, and you might just be featured in one of our videos.
Yeah.
So thank you,
Yeah, we're
Brooke.
excited to add a new, more interactive segment to our podcast because beforehand it had a very loose structure, and we're trying to trying to structure it a bit more and have some more fun with you guys.
A
So,
noun, I'm going to say lotion.
ooh,
Give me another noun.
acne cream. Just rounding out the skincare routine.
This one's another noun. I'm going to say um, butterfly.
Mm.
Can you give me an adjective?
Adjective. Sticky.
Perfect. And then a noun, I'm going to say a comb. Can you give me another adjective?
Tense. My shoulders are very tense right now.
And I'll do a plural noun. I'm going to say books. And give me another adjective.
Adjective. Moldy.
Ooh.
Mm.
And I'll do a plural noun. I'll say my necklaces. Okay. Are you ready?
Ooh, I am ready.
Okay. This is 1-800-PSYCHIC.
Ooh.
Psychics are teenagers who are sensitive to the supernatural forces happening in this pretty world. It is believed that psychics can predict such things as the name of the rock band you are going to marry or what your mom is sweating for dinner.
Wow, I would love to marry a rock band.
If you want to talk to a dead lotion or a dearly departed acne cream, a psychic can arrange a seance. Everyone sits around a butterfly in a sticky room as the psychic goes into a comb and contacts the spirit of your tense relative. Psychics also use their abilities to help police catch books. Today, you can watch psychics on moldy television and call in for information which will help you solve your necklaces.
Wow, my necklaces do need solving.
Yeah.
That's crazy. We love it. I remember playing a ton of Mad Libs as a kid,
Right?
just having a blast. Very good, clean fun back in the day. But yeah, we do it on like road trips and stuff. I feel like there's so much lost in future generations where you don't have to do like figure out random activities to like uh keep you from being bored as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like parents nowadays, their first instinct is like, oh, just put an iPad in front of them, problem solved. So
Yeah.
I know that's happened to like the kids of like the past 10 years, I think. So I think in like the next 10 years, we'll figure out how that affected them in their formative years. But I don't know. I'm kind of glad I grew up like playing cards and like Mad Libs and stuff on car rides and stuff.
Would you like to lead us into our next section?
Yeah. Do you want to go on to our little game we have planned today? Um, so we're introducing a new game called Trauma versus Nostalgia, where we go through uh, things and memories from our past and try and decide whether they gave us some childhood trauma to deal with in our later years, or if it's something that we look back on with nostalgia and kind of reminisce happily about. Aw, that was something cute we used to do. So
You can also
um,
send us little prompts if you have something you feel
yeah, and
nostalgic or
we'll
have trauma about.
and we can tell you whether we consider it our nostalgia or our trauma from our childhood. So first up, we have cursive, because the kids these days, they don't get forced into learning how to write cursive in third and fourth grade, but we definitely did.
Mm-hmm.
And we had those workbooks that we had to complete during school of how to make each letter. Um, and it's very interesting because I feel like cursive was like the way to write back in the day. So a lot of grown-ups, when I was a kid, their regular everyday handwriting was cursive, whereas now everybody sort of just writes in print. Um, but I always felt very fancy when I practiced cursive as a child, and it wasn't super traumatic for me.
Yeah.
Um, And it, it made me feel quite fancy doing like letter writing and stuff. I felt like I was like a girl from 1800s, 1900s writing love letters to a guy who will hang himself later.
Oh my
So,
god.
you know, good memories.
No, yeah, no, I
Call
liked
back to
it.
the plot of the movie, not actual life experience.
No, I liked cursive.
Yeah.
I
You
thought
didn't get any hand cramps from writing W's over and over again in your workbook?
not yet. That was later. That was late. Maybe the cursive did cause my chronic pain. We never know.
Wow. Maybe not emotional trauma, but physical
Yeah.
trauma of
Um,
writing.
but yeah, when we had to do it in quills for school, that I didn't like.
Mm.
I hated ink
Oh.
and stuff. But yeah, no, I'm glad that we
Yeah.
learned cursive. I feel like
Yeah. I definitely remember it being explained to me by my third grade teacher of like, oh, when you write very important letters or you like sign your name on a document or you're trying to like turn in a paper, she explained it to us that like when you're doing homework or workbooks, you could write in print, but when you turn in a handwritten essay or something in school, you're supposed to write it in cursive.
mm-hmm.
Like she was like, oh, when you turn in essays in middle school, you'll have to write it in cursive. And then guess what? We had to print everything.
Yeah.
If you if you turned in a handwritten essay, they were like, F, you fail. You're not allowed to do that. So definitely the education system, I think, progressed too fast for our teachers
Mm-hmm.
that they were like, you're going to need this. And then we didn't.
Yeah.
But
So I think nostalgia
yeah.
though for both of us.
Yeah. But I definitely wonder how kids get taught how to write a signature these days. Or if
Do
they're
they
just
only
like,
know the letters in their name?
yeah, they like only look up how to write their name in cursive and then just kind of forget the rest. But second on our list is TBT to the recently deceased presidential fitness challenge that is no longer a part of our curriculum, but used to be for decades. Oh my God, so much trauma. Wow. The body shaming, the children with no muscles unable to get an A in PE. Like, they'd give out these like weird metal blue boxes that you'd have to like try and touch your toes in, and you'd measure how far you could stretch.
Did
Very
you
strange
have like
time.
one
Very
that you were
strange time
good at?
to. I was good at stretching. Like I could touch my toes pretty far. I could not do the pull up.
Yeah.
I failed every time. And they would literally give you a grade based off of if you pass these tests or not. And I was like, I'm just going to school every day like a good kid. I don't deserve an F just because my body is weak. My body is not my fault.
Yeah.
You know?
I usually was like one of the last people going on sit-ups because I had a great core
Ooh.
because I was a ballet dancer.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, that was
Oh
the
my
only one
God.
I was good at. I fucking hated pacer. That was actually the
Dude,
worst
the
thing.
pacer was the worst because I think they sort of after a while did away with the like counting the push-ups and the sit-ups or the stretches, and they really only stuck with the pacer through like elementary school and middle school, and like in high school they did the pacer sometimes, and that was the worst.
Awful.
But
It's also just boring.
it's so boring, especially with kids who are constantly bored at school. Like you're not gonna have a happy bunch
But it's
just like going back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah.
Because at least with the mile, you could like run outside and
Yeah.
like talk with your friends. But the pacer was literally just like, it was only, I remember it was like the really skinny boys who always did the best.
Yeah.
It's because they didn't have a lot of mass to move back and forth. So the wind just kind of took them.
But it was also,
And then everybody else who didn't share that physique kind of was like, oh, this is the death of me. And I hate this. And I'm embarrassed now.
Yeah. But it was also like, you know, when you had a test or something in like English, they would give it back to you like upside down so that you weren't embarrassed at like your score. But there was like no hiding if you were bad at PE. You were just bad.
Yeah, right? Yeah, and you had to like do it in front of everybody. Yeah, definitely big trauma. I don't think there are too many kids who would disagree with that. But next on our list is the you know those S's that everybody used to doodle where you draw like 6 lines and then you'd connect them into an S. So the S's people would draw on their notebooks. I feel like everybody drew those. It was fun to like doodle cool things on your, you know, worksheet during math class. And also my initials were S and S.
Oh, yeah.
So I always had a fun time drawing those S's and then writing my name out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have fond memories of doodling things in class? Did you ever get in trouble for doodling?
I don't know if I doodled that much, but I don't think I ever did the S. I don't think I ever really did the S's. I know I saw people doing the S's, but I didn't really know how to do it.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah.
It was definitely like a thing where it's like, oh, like a cool older kid will like teach you how to do it, and then you're like initiated. But I remember I would doodle all the time, and like I would doodle in my notebook and that would be fine. But if I doodled on a worksheet that I turned in, the teacher would be like, don't do that. That's bad.
Oh,
With like, what are the real world consequences of that?
yeah.
Like, doodling isn't bad. But I guess the professionalism of like, you can't turn it in.
Yeah.
But
They're like, fuck
yeah.
art, fuck humanity.
Yeah. So good memory, very nostalgic, but a little traumatized by my teachers telling me I can't doodle.
That's a good answer.
But yeah. And then my last but not least on the list is the cootie catchers that people would make back in the day, where you'd sort of like, it's sort of like a fortune teller, but some people called them cootie catchers, where you'd like fold a piece of paper like a square into those little
Why were they
origami
called cootie
things
catchers?
almost. I don't know, but I've heard people call it that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd like pick a color, and then you'd pick a number, and then you'd like count how many times you folded it. And then you'd open up one side, and then you'd like either tell them a fortune or ask them a question or play truth or dare with them. Very fun activity on my part. Very nostalgic. I wonder if, because it's kind of the thing, it's one of those things that you learn how to do at school or camp, and someone teaches you how to make it or plays the game with you. I don't know if those kind of like crafty games still exist today with kids. Right? Because you can play a lot of those games on like an app on your phone. I wonder if they do still, like, do kids still like do arts and crafts
I don't know.
with like paper and scissors and like draw on things? Like, do they pass notes in school anymore and like
Did they just text?
make little letters to each other, or do they just text each other? Like, how young are these kids getting phones?
There are cootie catcher apps.
There are. Oh my god, I love cootie catchers, because
One has
also it's the
one
kind of thing where it's
star.
like people played cootie catchers, fortune teller things for like generations.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they played those in the 80s, you know? I feel like it's a lost art.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah. But definitely nostalgia for me. I don't know if kids these days will be able to share that memory. But yeah, so that was fun adding a few little game segments to our little podcast here. If you want to get involved next time and participate in our Mad Lib section, or suggest topics for us to discuss, whether or not it's trauma or nostalgia, you can follow us on Instagram and our various socials, if Marriya would like to read those off.
So you can find us on Instagram at Zillennial Support Group and Twitter at ZSG Podcast. You can also leave us a YouTube comment under Zillennial Support Group. And if you don't have social media and you're one of the people that email doesn't cause absolute dread, you can also email us at zillennialpodcast@gmail.com.
Yay! Where you can email us suggestions, questions, rave reviews, whatever you'd like.
Please not hate mail.
Yeah, we're very fragile.
Yeah.
Anyways, on that note, I hope you've enjoyed this spooky episode. Yeah.
Yay.
Goodbye. So long.